remember one night, like, the pain was just too unbearable. And I remember that's when I finally said, like, my first honest prayer, and all it said was, I don't want you to heal me, but I just want you to hold me. Mm-hmm. And I felt a physical arm around me, and I know the Savior was there weeping with me and crying with me. And that's all I needed. I didn't need him to fix it. There's nothing to fix. Just hold me. And after that, I've just had so many amazing miracles. I can't be mad at God.
Welcome back to another episode of the Like a Diamond podcast. We're so excited to be here today and talk about life and struggles and challenges and our scars and how they can make us better if we let them. We know that this podcast is a little bit different. We get a little bit vulnerable. We shed some tears. I probably cry more than she does.
Sometimes.
Most of the time. But more importantly than talking about the struggle, we like to emphasize and focus on the good that came from the trial that we all face. And it's the good that we don't always talk about enough. Yeah. And I think a lot of people like to sit and wallow in the pity and the infliction or the suffering part. But in this podcast, we like to talk about the glory of becoming and how we are shaped into diamonds if we let it. So with that, we are excited to introduce our guest, Becky Baudrero. Becky, welcome to the Like a Diamond podcast.
Thank you.
So appreciate Becky, it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, give us a little background.
So we have 3 children. Ryan is 15, almost 16. Mm-hmm. Dominic is 10. And then Leah is going to be 9 on Sunday. And she is reminding us every single day that Sunday is her birthday and that she wants presents, which I have not bought yet.
Yes.
So
almost there.
So Kristen, why don't we dive into it?
Yeah, so before we kind of jump into the heavy part of it, I want you to tell us about Dominic and his personality before he passed away. So sorry, if you want to...
I haven't cried about him in a long time.
It's okay.
So the first thing I want to say is I don't use the past tense when I talk about him.
Awesome.
Because I don't believe he's dead. With the religion I'm in, we believe that once you die, it's only your body that goes into the ground and your spirit still lives and that he still lives on. And I've had so many experiences with him that I know he's still alive. So I always talk about him in the present tense.
I love that.
So Dominic is, he is just kind of the all-around American boy. Out of all 3 children, he's the only one that loves sports. He loved basketball and baseball. He loves the Olympics. Every time we would watch the Olympics together, he always would say, "Mom, I want to do that sport and that sport and that sport." And he wanted to get a gold medal in every single sport possible. And we had to say, well, child, you probably better simmer down and focus on one. But he loves baseball, and he is super bright and smart. The year that he passed away, he was in a STEM competition, and he scored in mathematics number 3 in the entire state.
Wow!
So he's a smarty. Pants, just always full of life. Super messy though. My gosh! I mean, that kid. When he was little, I would always when he was probably 7 or 8, I'd always tell him, like, a toddler learning to eat for the first time is cleaner than you are. Like, you are just a mess when it comes to that. But the thing that probably is the best way to describe his personality is an experience that we had at his viewing. And first of all, at the viewing, we had 2 viewings. And the very first viewing, the funeral director said he had never seen so many people come to a viewing, that the line was wrapped outside around the parking lot.
Wow.
And we didn't know that he'd had such an influence on people. But while we were there, there was a girl that came, and she was with her father, and she looked at him in the casket and just started weeping. And I asked her, oh, how do you know Dominic? Because I didn't recognize her. And she goes, oh, he's my best friend.
Wow.
And I thought, okay. And this was not an uncommon phrase. Tons of children referred to him as my best friend.
Wow.
But with this little girl, when she said, oh, I'm his best friend, I thought, oh, okay, that's great. And thinking, I've never seen this child in my life. He's never talked about this girl. And mind you, he died a week after school started.
Oh.
And she said, well, he was a 5th grader and she was a 3rd grader. And she said we would have recess at the exact same time. And on the very first day of school, I was alone, and he noticed, and he came and invited me to play. And she said he invited me every single day. And that's my son.
Wow.
Wow.
So that probably sums him up perfectly. Like what 5th grade student would go befriend a 3rd grader who's sad?
Yeah.
My Dominic does.
Wow. That is beautiful.
That's incredible. Yeah. I want to know if there are any funny stories that you can share about him.
We know he's messy.
He's messy.
He's messy
incredibly
and
bright
loves.
and incredibly caring.
Really messy. Oh, I'm trying to think of funny story. Okay. He loved horror. I mean, like just crazy stuff, you know, like, and we never showed him any horror movies, but I mean, Scream, Chucky, you know, anything like killing, stabbing, he loved. And I was like, why do you like this stuff? And so that was kind of funny. So of course, Halloween is his favorite holiday. Yeah. Like spooking people. He would always leave his shoes everywhere. Everywhere. He could never find his shoes. He could never find this or that. So I guess that was, I don't know if I really have like one specific story.
That's okay.
But just that he loved the horror. And I have this picture of him where the last year before he passed, he wanted to be Mike Myers for Halloween. I was like, no. Like, you don't even know who that is. You just know he's some horror figure.
You drew the line.
But he found a kid's costume at that Spirit Halloween. Yeah. And so I was like, fine. I mean, I don't care. But, and then he runs around the corner and he's got this huge bloody fake knife. And he's like, please. I was like, absolutely not. Like, you are not going to walk around the neighborhood with this bloody knife. And I've got this picture of him, just this distraught, disgusted face, you know.
He was really mad at you in that picture. He wasn't playing the character.
No. He was mad at me. But honestly, I don't think he ever even knew who Mike Myers was. He just knew he was a horror figure.
Oh my goodness, how funny is that?
I love that so much.
So that's
so typically we have to talk about what happened. We don't ever want to brush past it because that was one of the most impactful thing in your life. We like to spend more time about the after the event. But for our viewers, tell us the story. What happened that day to Dominic?
Okay. So it was August 24th, 2024. It was a Saturday. And Dominic and Leah were with me all day. We drove down and I got my hair cut. We went to a park that they loved, went and got oil changed on one of the vehicles, and went and got lunch and went to Costco, you know, just a typical
Saturday.
It's typical Saturday.
Yeah.
And we got home around 4 p.m. And I went to go get an oil change in our second vehicle. And unbeknownst to me, he had asked to go to Maverick, which is a local gas station chain here in Utah, for those that aren't familiar. And that was kind of a thing that the kids like to do in the neighborhood is go to Maverick, get some drinks, and go home. And usually I would never let him go without his older brother. And he knew that. And so he asked Dad because Mom was gone. Dad said yes. So he went with his friend. And then as I was on the way to get the oil changed, I get a phone call from my husband that says, Gavin, Dominic's friend that was with him, just ran to the house and said that he's been hit by a car. And he said he's okay. So just come to the accident scene. And he gave me the coordinates of the accident scene. So I rushed there and could tell it wasn't good. And basically what happened was there was a 4-way stop, and he was on his bike and his friend Gavin was on an electric scooter. And there was a large Ford F-150 truck. And the truck driver saw Gavin go across, and the truck was trying to turn left. And this was all in a neighborhood as well. This is in our neighborhood. Oh. And he saw Gavin go across and watched and made sure that Gavin crossed in front of him safely. And then Dominic sped through, and it was just bang, bang. And the driver didn't see him and went to turn left and hit him and ran over him. And when I got to the accident scene, he already looked dead. I mean, he looked white as a ghost. No color at all, but he didn't have any marks on him. I mean, he physically from the outside, there was like a little scratch on his forehead, something that you'd typically see a child who was learning to ride their bike for the first time. They fall off, they get a scratch. That was it. But he kept screaming over and over, guys, I can't breathe. Guys, I can't breathe. Oh. And he was very out of it too, kind of in and out. And so I rode with him in the ambulance to the hospital. And the paramedics kept reassuring me. I asked if he had a collapsed lung. And they said, well, there's no way he has a collapsed lung, because if he does, he wouldn't be yelling, guys, I can't breathe. So as we get there and they do a check on his head and they say there's no brain injuries. But at this point, he's just in so much pain. And because there's nothing on the outside, they had no idea what was actually going on. So they said, we're going to take him in to get an MRI. We'll be back in 10 minutes. They didn't come back for 45 minutes. And when they came back, they said his spleen was completely obliterated. What? Because the truck had rolled over him. He had punctures in his lungs, and his spleen, his liver was lacerated, and that he was basically bleeding out internally. And by that point, he was already 80% blood all throughout his little body. Oh, man. And he's 10 years old. He just barely turned 10. And so they told us that they didn't have the surgeon. There wasn't a surgeon there that could perform the surgery. And so they were going to life flight him to Primary Children's, which that made me feel a lot better. And at this point, they didn't tell us the severity of it. They just said, oh, he'll be in the hospital X amount of days. He'll need this medication. Wow. Yes, you can survive without a spleen.
They didn't think it was that severe at the time.
I don't know. I don't know if they did think it was that severe and they just were trying to protect us, or if they really believed it. I honestly don't know. But Life Flight arrived to take him, and he started to go downhill. And they asked if they could perform some blood transfusions on him and if they could incubate him. And so they kind of pushed us out of the room to do that. And then when we came back, he had the tube in his mouth. And by this time, he'd already had 4 blood transfusions. And they told us that he wasn't stable. And so they couldn't life flight him until he got stable. Another 45 minutes passed. And then they said, okay, we're ready to go. So they let my husband go, and he went to go drive down to Primary Children's, and I was allowed to get in the helicopter with him. Got in the helicopter. They started hooking him up, and they turned on the blades, and we didn't even lift off the ground. And then the paramedics called some medical code. And And then they just rushed him out of the helicopter and rushed back in. And all these medical doctors, there's at least 20 of them, 20 doctors and nurses came. And I was just left in the helicopter with the pilot. And the pilot tended to me, and I just looked right at him and I said, "Is my son gonna die?" And he looked right at me and he goes, "Most likely, sweetie. He's in cardiac arrest."
Oh my gosh.
And I was in such shock. Like, I couldn't cry. I couldn't process it. And so I ran back in, and by this time, like the entire ER, even like the nurses at the nurses station were just there. Everyone was just watching. And they did CPR and pulse checks for 30 minutes. And by that time they had said, okay, we've talked to primary children's. We talked to the doctor who was going to do the surgery. He said that he's going to actually FaceTime one of us and walk us through the surgery if you give permission. And we're like,
gosh.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
But obviously you can't do it unless he gets a pulse back and gets stable. So after 30 minutes, they said, by this time my husband had gotten back, and they said, we normally stop. So what do you want to do? We'll go 30 more minutes. And of course, what do you say in that situation? Yeah. Go.
Yes.
You're just praying for a miracle the whole time. Like, I know God can save him. And then I remember looking at the doctor who was going to be doing the surgery if he came to. And I said, okay, if he comes to, will he be brain dead? And he said, most likely, because he's been without oxygen for 30 minutes. But you still are just praying for a miracle. You're like, I know that this can happen. And they told us the time that they go to. And they all took turns, even those sweet EMTs from the University of Utah. They all were taking turns, and they did in 1 hour straight. And then you see, they told us that they'd stop at 8:04 p.m. And you just see the clock start ticking and ticking and ticking. And it's just like, it's completely unreal. And by this time they let us go closer, and like we held his hand, and it's just, there's that gut feeling where you know, like, he's already gone, you know, but you just don't realize it. And then probably the worst thing a parent can hear is time of death. And then your child's, and then they all just stop. And then your child's just, who you were with all day is just lifeless. So, yeah. So it was pretty traumatic. I was there for all of it. Just to be completely honest with everything, I got diagnosed with PTSD pretty bad.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I've done lots of therapy and work on that. Lots of trauma.
Oh, Becky.
So as a parent, hearing time of death and having to leave the hospital without your son, how do you even begin processing what had just happened?
I don't know. I don't know if I fully processed it, to be honest. Yeah, leaving the hospital without him. I know this sounds weird, but this is honestly what went through my mind. I knew they were taking him down to Taylorsville to the coroner to do a medical report on him. And my first thought was, are you going to put a blanket on him? Because he's going to be cold.
Oh.
And in my mind, it's like, Becky, he's dead. He's not there to be cold. But that was my thought. And honestly, looking back on it, I wish I would have stayed. They made us go before they arrived. But I wanted to see what they were going to do to his body. I wanted to see the transport. I wanted to see where he was going to go. I was the crazy mom that Googled what the facility looked like where he was going to. I Googled what the doctors looked like. I just wanted to make sure if they had to cut him, he wasn't going to get hurt. which, because that's where your brain goes as a parent.
Right.
Even though you know that
You still want to protect him.
you still want to protect him, even though he's not going to get hurt.
Right.
But it's hard to reconcile that. So processing it, I think the best way I processed it was going to my sessions with my trauma therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So we did this trauma method called EMDR. And I don't know, people might be familiar.
Both have done it, yeah.
You've done
Very
it?
familiar.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm. It's incredible.
Yeah. And as you know, you relive the trauma and then you try to think of other ways, you know, that you could rehearse the scene in your mind, and you just go with what your brain tells you. And that's actually where lots of my kind of healing has come from, to be honest, is like reliving it, but then having the Lord help show me different ways. And it wasn't until earlier this year when we worked actually on that exact scene of leaving the hospital and leaving him there. And the thought that came into my mind that my brain kept showing me was, he's walking beside you and Jeff as you're walking out of the hospital.
Mm.
And it's just like a glove that's left. He's still bouncy and happy. And the thought that came into my mind is him saying, wow, I can still be with you.
Mm.
And so that's what I try to turn to now when I think about that hospital scene is, yes, his body was there, but he still walked out of that hospital with Jeff and I. Yeah. Just in a different way.
Right. Very heavy. I know that's got to be so hard for you to relive and reshare. And I know you've done it multiple times, but I'm sure it can't get easier. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
You mentioned something that struck a chord, and I know so many people have thought or felt this at some point. I've been around several situations where, as a religious person, I was asked to give a blessing to someone in the hospital or near an event where death was close. And in all those situations, everyone is praying for a miracle, and you fully believe a miracle can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then it doesn't. How do you grapple with why are some miracles granted, but not my miracle?
So my answer might be different than what you're expecting. The Lord gave me a premonition that something would happen to him when he was 2 years old. So I've always known that something was going to happen to him.
Wow.
And then right before he died, right before he got hit by the car, when we were driving home from Costco, I heard this audible voice in my head say, you need to take the sacrament. And this like draw of like my spirit wanting to take the sacrament. And I said, well, it's going to be tomorrow. Like, I'll take it tomorrow. What's the big deal? And it was clear as day. It says, because you need to be bound to him, meaning Christ. And so when those blessings were given to Dominic, it was told that everything would be okay. And of course, that's always a bad answer, right? Because you're like, okay, in whose eyes, right? Like,
it's what I want or what is going to happen.
Wants. Yeah. And through just a more series of events of all these things that lined up, I know that it was his time. I don't agree with it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I know it was. So God didn't grant me the miracle of him living, but he has granted me the miracle of still living with him here on this earth and in the next life. My son's not gone from me.
Yeah.
And the Lord has been so gracious. I've had so many experiences with my son to where I can somewhat understand when that blessing said things will be okay.
For some that might be wondering what are those experiences, maybe they've lost someone and they're looking for some sign, something to show that they're there. Can you, or is it too sacred or private to share? What are some of those experiences that maybe they could recognize that?
So there's always signs. I always thought signs were kind of a voodoo thing for the longest time. But when he was buried, there was multiple people at the burial that said right after we all put flowers on the casket, a swarm of dragonflies came and swarmed the casket. And I didn't see those because I didn't want to look at the casket, to be honest. So I had turned my back on it. But lots of my family members and friends said that. And for the longest time, my cousin kept telling me, Becky, it's a sign. Whenever there's a dragonfly, it means that he's nearby. I was like, whatever, that's voodoo stuff. I'm not going to listen to that. But I can now tell you 100% that is a sign. That when there's a dragonfly nearby, that's him saying he's near. And we've had so many experiences, countless experiences, that I want to write a book on all of the...
Well, specifically a dragonfly.
Oh my gosh, so many. And we have it almost daily.
Wow.
Almost daily.
Wow.
Can you say now that you look each day for his life somehow?
Yeah, like I expect it. I think of what President Nelson said before he passed in a conference talk. He said, look and expect for miracles. And I'm living proof of that.
Wow.
Because there are miracles every day that the Lord gives you, even in your darkest times.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Wow. So, with 2 other children who are living, what did grief look like for you, your husband, and how did you manage the grief of your children at the same time?
So I think that's still a process. And I don't I don't even know if we're doing it right. We've all definitely grieved differently. My husband rarely talks about what happened, rarely talks about Dominic. And as you can see, I'm here on your podcast talking all about it. So I'm the talker. He likes to shut the door, pretend that it never happened, and grieve and cry in private. And my children have kind of followed suit in that manner. One thing I have done with my kids is I took them both to therapy. After it happened, the youngest, she was 7 at the time, and she didn't really connect really well with the therapist. Neither did my oldest. And then later on, I took my oldest again to a therapist that specialized in teenagers and grief. And that really got Ryan to open up. But I think the biggest thing we do as a family right now is Dominic's name is mentioned every single day.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's never not talked about, even if it's something as simple as, log on to Dominic's Xbox profile, just something simple. I always share all of my experiences with my children, every single spiritual experience that we have, dreams that I have where he's come to me, everything I share with my children. When we get tender mercies, I always call them heavenly hugs and heavenly hellos from heaven. And just let them know, that he's still alive and well. And when my kids need to cry, that's probably been the hardest thing, is as a parent, when your child cries, you want to try to comfort and console them. And the thing I've learned about grief is don't try to make it better. Just let them cry. Let them do what they need to. So it's just telling them that there's a safe space to do that. And it's only been a handful of times they've actually cried around me or shown me. But those are things we're trying to do. From my perspective right now, I think everyone's doing well, like as well as can be.
Yeah.
I know there's a stat that we had shared in a different episode that's not accurate. It talked about the rate of divorce is so high to parents that lost a child, and they've since debunked that. That was a false stat. But my question is, when you're in a relationship and a partnership and you grieve differently, has that caused any strain on the marriage? And I'm sure you're working on it, but
yes and no. Like, I would say we're kind of stagnant. Like, have we gotten a lot closer? In my eyes, no. Have we fallen apart? No.
Yeah.
Just kind of, we're just both surviving.
Yeah.
I do notice that this recently, like this second year, my husband's been a lot more kind of open and talking about things. Just simple things. Like a couple weeks ago, he made dinner and he set out 5 plates.
Oh.
And I asked him, like, who's the 5th plate for? He's like, well, you know, just in case he wants to come.
Oh, that's sweet.
And I was like, wow, that is the most I've ever heard him say.
Yeah.
Regarding that. And so it's just for me, trying to learn to be respectful of that he's not going to grieve like I want to grieve, because I want him to be just like me.
Yeah.
And talk, and he's not.
Right.
So that's probably been a struggle for me is
Learning how he grieves.
Learning how he grieves,
Yeah.
which is you just gotta, when he says something, be appreciative. Thank you for saying that, and don't press more.
Yeah.
He'll come around when he needs to.
So I don't know if you mind, I want to go back to maybe the week of the funeral, because it's kind of where lots of family and friends and it's the hustle and bustle, right? It's, is there anything during that week that sticks out in your mind that you would be okay sharing that felt like a big miracle or a tender mercy?
Probably just the whole thing, to be honest, like the all of the support from people. Just something as simple as when we called the mortuary to get everything scheduled, the funeral director that was assigned to us, he said, Baudrero, do you know Brian Baudrero? I was like, yeah, that's my brother-in-law. We bought his house. He's like, oh, he was my young men's leader. I used to live in your ward. And so he's like, I'm going to take extra special care of your son because I have connections with your family. And to me, that was a miracle. Like, that's not a coincidence. Out of all the funeral directors in Davis County, we get the one that has connections with our family. So that, to me, was a miracle. And I think for that week, you can't look for big miracles. You have to just look for little ones.
Yeah.
Our neighborhood, our community was just so great. We had the principals of not only our school, but of my son's junior high school come over and just love on our kids. I think the one thing that's kind of funny, but I loved, was all the people in our area. I found out later that they had this massive text message, and there was like a person that was like in charge of everything, and it was kind of like letting all the bulls out to run and then closing the gate. They're like, okay, go, she's ready for visitors. Nope, no visitors. And they kind of like
a gatekeeper.
We had to actually kick some people out of our house. It's like, we have to write the obituary, can you please leave for like 20 minutes? But I think probably the biggest miracle of it all was the Savior strengthening me during the viewing. My biggest fear was seeing my son in a casket. I don't like looking at people in caskets to begin with. Definitely don't want to look at my child. And I remember that I was able to get through the viewing. I only cried once, and I was able to stand right by that casket for 3 hours.
Wow.
And I know 100% that I was sustained by heaven. 100%. Like, there's no other way to say it. The raw, yucky feelings were not present. I was able to do that. And I remember I got home that night and sat on the couch, and I have my favorite picture of the Savior that's on our wall. And I remember I looked at it, and it looked like his eyes were different, like he was looking right at me. And I said, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Thank you. And I just felt this impression in my mind that said, see, I got you.
Wow.
And then the next day, we had another viewing. We had the funeral, and I was 100% sustained again. I didn't cry, and I was able to be the concluding speaker at his funeral and talk about him, and that was all God. I mean, I cannot deny it. So that was probably the biggest miracle, is that even though heaven knew I was weeping, heaven was also sustaining.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. It's obvious that your relationship with God is very special to you, and you know, one would say quite strong. Were there moments during these past 2 years where you have questioned or been mad at or yelled at or thought that your relationship with him wasn't what you thought?
I was never mad at him. That was one thing that to this day I have never experienced anger. And I hope I don't. I wasn't angry at the driver. I wasn't angry at the hospital. You always look for someone to blame, which that I did do that. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I went through trying to find blame, but I never got angry. I had a lot of people telling me, you just need to yell at God. I was like, I can't bring myself to do that. And it was like, you need to get mad at him. You need to yell at him. That will make you feel better. And this was like a couple weeks after he died. And I was like, okay. But I mean, I will tell you, I didn't have any desire to pray.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't. And I do remember one day I finally knelt down on my knees and I just said, apparently I'm supposed to yell at you. And I'm supposed to get upset. And as I sat there for a minute with it, feelings started coming of anger. And so then I did.
Good.
And I yelled at him, and I felt a little better, but it didn't relieve any of the pain.
Yeah.
And then I remember one night, like, the pain was just too unbearable. And I remember that's when I finally said, like, my first honest prayer, and all it said was, I don't want you to heal me, but I just want you to hold me.
Mm-hmm.
And he did. And I felt a physical arm around me, and I know the Savior was there weeping with me and crying with me. And that's all I needed. I didn't need him to fix it. There's nothing to fix. Just hold me. And after that, I've just had so many amazing miracles. I can't be mad at God.
Wow. That struck a nerve, huh?
I am amazed that you were able to do that. Because I think I would have screamed and yelled and said, take it away from me, and begged and pleaded for that. So I applaud you for
Thanks.
going about a different way.
Yeah. There was a lot of screaming and yelling.
Yeah.
But it was just more like screaming and yelling of, this hurts really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that weird sensation where, like, I didn't want him to take it away, because if he took it away, then it's like taking my son away. And I know that is so hard to understand, but those that have lost children will probably understand that weird dynamic in your brain. Like, in a way, you want to hold on to the pain, but you hate the pain, and you hate being in the pain, but the pain relates to your child. And so having God sit in the pain with me,
That makes sense.
is what helped.
That's beautiful.
So you had mentioned the driver.
Mm.
And you said you weren't mad at the driver.
Wasn't drunk, wasn't speeding.
No. So I'll share another experience. The driver showed up to the viewing. the first viewing. And he approached with his wife, and he had like 4 children with him. And I didn't know who he was at first. But there was a lot of people that were there that I didn't even recognize.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, son is probably friends with Dominic, something like that. And he was just weeping as he's standing right next to the casket. And I remember asking him what his name, and he presented me this plaque that he had done through the city, and it was in honor of Dominic, and it had baseballs all over it. So I thought, obviously, this person knows about my son. He knows his likes.
Yeah.
And then when he told me his name, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the driver. And the most unique situation happened. It was a complete out-of-body experience, but I just grabbed him and embraced him. And he wept on my shoulder and got my whole shoulder just wet, just crying and apologizing. And all I could say was, it's okay, it's not your fault. It was his time to go. And I know that wasn't me. I know that was, looking back at it, I know that was the Lord, and I know that was the Lord allowing me to see like his love and his unconditional mercy for everyone, to let me experience just the sliver of the Lord. And how could I be mad at this man? They did a police report. It was a complete accident. I had tons of family saying, you need to go after his house, you need to go after this. And my thought was, this poor man has to live with this the rest of his life. Why would we destroy his life anymore? I mean, I don't know what it's like to be the cause of killing someone, let alone a child. Yeah. And this man has, I have not spoken with him at all since, but I do think of him often and really hope that he's doing okay, because I don't know how you could live with that. I would almost rather live with what I'm living than live with what he has to go through. So no anger.
Chris and I are over here bawling. I don't know how you were, like you said, it was out of body. It wasn't you that was given the empathy and the eyes of God to look at this man, and without anger, without hate, and dare to say the love of God. Yeah. That is an amazing miracle.
Yeah.
Oh, gotta let that sit there for a second.
I know.
And how respectful that you think of him and hope that he's doing well. That speaks really a lot about who you are and your character.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does. So when we had talked on the phone briefly, you had mentioned within the church you were asked to take on a certain calling, if you will, which is just a service. And it was a pretty big one. What, in 6 months after?
It was 6 months after he died.
What was going through your mind when they asked you? And
so my parents always taught me that you never decline a calling, that it's always from the Lord, and that the leaders that call you to that are inspired. And so when they asked me to be the stake primary president, it was yes.
And for our audience, that's you're over several hundred children in different organizations locally throughout your area.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a big responsibility.
Yeah. So nothing. It didn't feel like I never had the thought, oh, I just lost my child. How come you're doing this to me? Never. It was, this is what you want me to do. He's carried me this far. I trust him. Him being God. Okay, I'll do it. And it's turned out to be like a really incredible blessing, because I've been able to share a lot about Dominic. And as I've visited, we have like 10 congregations in my area, and it's really neat because I get to go visit the children. And the first year, lots of them were like, you're Dominic's mom, you're Dominic's mom.
Oh.
And even to this day, other kids from school that knew him, they're like, "Oh, Sister Baudrero, you're Dominic," and they always talk about Dominic.
That
So-
probably
That's special.
brought a lot of joy and
Oh, yeah.
happiness to have
Yeah.
little children, bring up his name over and over and over again.
Yep. Just knowing that they haven't forgotten him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of not forgetting him, I know you mentioned saying Dominic's name once a day.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If not more. Yeah.
If not more. So what do you do besides that to keep him alive in your family,
in
your
our
home?
family. We've got pictures of him all over. We've gotten to the point where we can laugh about things. Now, I know in the early stages of grief, this is not something that most people can probably do. But if someone's shoes get left on the floor and we trip over them and, you fall, get hurt, gosh dang it, Dominic, you probably came and put those there. And so
Nice.
when I said that first, I remember my kids looked at me like, we're allowed to joke. So yeah, if something goes awry in the house, we blame it on Dominic. Like, it's his fault. He's probably come and disturbed and done something. I mean, we obviously don't believe he has, but we like to joke about that.
Yeah.
Another thing that we do to kind of keep him alive is our city was just so great. I used to serve in a church calling with the Layton City Parks director,
Okay.
and she got together behind our back a huge fundraiser, and there is a park bench in the park right across the street from our house dedicated to Dominic.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
Oh.
Jeff and I got to write the inscription on the plaque, and we got to choose where it was located, and it's his old stomping grounds. And so that stands as a memorial that everyone in our neighborhood and community
That's nice.
can see. But yeah, we're just always, we always kind of talk about him. And then like whenever we have a dragonfly experience, again, like I know I always tell my kids, "Oh, he's watching out for us." Just the other day, I was in the car with my oldest as he was driving, and so many times dragonflies will fly right to the windshield as we're driving and just slow motion across windshield and then drive off. And I was like, "See, he's making sure you don't kill me, and that you don't drive reckless." And he's like, I know. And so that's probably how we keep him alive, is we've gotten to the point where we kind of joke around
Yeah.
about him
Yeah.
being around. And yeah, that's probably what we do.
That's amazing.
I love it.
I'm going to speak to our listeners for a second. I know there's someone watching this that's in the depth of the grief. You probably just don't feel like you're ever going to make it through it. And our hearts go out to you. And we know, or we can imagine what that feels like. My question to you, Becky, is to that one listener who's in the middle of it and doesn't think there's any hope, can't see their way through, what do you tell them right now?
Tell him right now that you're not alone, that there are other parents that have experienced this and know what you're feeling, and you're not being targeted by God or heaven, that you're not alone. Because any other thing that I would say right now won't help. When you're in the thick of it, that thick tar, you don't want to hear that one day you'll laugh again. You don't want to hear that it will get a little better, because that's not helpful. There really is nothing to say, except if I were near you, I would just come and cry with you and hold you. But if I had to say one thing, it's just know that you're not alone. There's other people feeling it that have experienced it, and they know exactly how you're feeling.
Yeah, thank you. That feeling of isolation accentuates the pain,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Makes it even lonelier in that struggle.
So as our podcast is titled Like a Diamond, we always like to ask our guests, what was it, or how have you become like a diamond with the extreme heat and the pressure, and how has it changed you, or how has it made you better, brighter? What does that look like for you?
That's a good question. I've been thinking about this question a lot because I don't know if I have a great answer. So I'll just say what comes to my mind, which is I don't see myself as a diamond.
Sure.
And I don't think anyone who goes through anything, whether it's child loss or anything, fully becomes a diamond until this life is over and we're perfected. But you have two options. You can either try to become strong, or you can let it overshadow you and kill you. And I've had the feeling of both. And for the longest time, it was, I want to die. I was suicidal for a long time. And I think it is God that's pulled me through. And I think starting to become like a diamond is just knowing, not let him transform you, just let him be with you. Just let him hold you. And then you get the strength to go on for 5 more minutes. And then if you fall back, that's fine. And so just keep on going. And as that's repeated day in and day out, I see, looking back, how I'm in a lot better place. Like, the grief never goes away. It's more, and I don't even like when people say, oh, you get stronger to carry it. I don't think that's true either. I think it's just, at the beginning, it's like thick tar and quicksand that you can't get out of. And now it's just, I'm always have a layer of sadness with me. Always. But I also know that you can balance joy and sadness together. The beautiful word of "and" is what I learned from my counselor. You can be sad and be excited about going to the mall. You can be sad and excited to have a day off of work. And they don't cancel each other out. And so seeing all those things build up, I guess, maybe like a diamond.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And I appreciate your answer.
Yeah, and don't think that, I mean, perspective is what always brings the truth, right? And perspective meaning enough time has to go by where you're finally able to turn around and look back and say, okay, now I see it. And 2 years is pretty recent. And
it's still recent.
And there's no shame in saying, oh, I don't feel like a diamond, because we just really met you, but sitting on this side of the table, we feel a sense of holiness that the experiences shared, the grief suffered, that you still suffer, is to make holy, right? And to make holy is to make pure, right? And that sucks. That requires fire.
I know, right?
Right?
I know.
But we can feel that. So you are still in it. You haven't had enough time to look back, but having the opportunity sitting on this side of the table, we've commented so many times, we feel like we're on holy ground as we are hearing a part of the suffering and feeling all of those feelings. There's no other word other than holy.
Right, but it's also hearing the strength that, I mean, we can hear it and feel it and see it as you're talking, and it blows my mind every time.
Yeah.
It really does. And so you, I have no doubt, are giving strength to many, many others as you do share his story.
I hope so. I hope so. And I don't know if I can say this, but...
You can say anything you want.
Okay, so for those that are members of our faith, go to the temple. I go 2 to 3 times a week. And it is unseen, invisible power and strength that you get. there's been a couple times where I haven't been able to go, and I notice my grief is so much harder to deal with than the weeks I go. And do I always have cool experiences? No. Okay. Have I had some amazing experiences? Yes, but they're few and far between. But going multiple times a week, that's what I have to do to make me feel better. And I don't know what bugged me with the grief one day. It doesn't impact me as much because I know that my Savior's there holding me up. It's not the knowledge of the gospel that gets us through. It's the power of our covenants that get us through.
Yeah.
So go to the temple. Even if you can't go inside, go sit on the grounds.
Thank you so much. I know that there are also people that might not have a relationship to a God or a higher power. And to you, I don't necessarily know or understand how you can survive without a perspective of a loving divine being who might see more than what we see and orchestrate more than we can understand. And if you don't have a relationship with God or a God, start questioning and looking for or thinking about, could there be a God or
a higher power, or go into nature and just sit and look for miracles. And maybe that miracle doesn't come from what you explain as a God, but there will be signs that there is love and something that is looking out or watching over. And that's our experience. And that's what we believe. And we're not trying to take away from what you believe, but there is love, and you are loved, and you might not feel that, but it's true.
Can I add one more thing
Absolutely.
to that? So for the first little bit, even though I believe in a God, I didn't want to look for what we call tender mercies, or my cute Texas friend calls them God winks. I love that. I love from her.
Yeah.
I didn't want to look for those. People are like, oh, he's in a better place. Yeah, the better place is with me. That's what I would tell them.
Absolutely.
I don't want any of that. So I changed my perspective from looking for the good in the bad situation to just looking for that God's even aware of what is going on. So maybe for those that don't believe, look for how things are orchestrated in your life. So these are my examples. Whenever I had just that heart shattering, breaking, I can't even breathe feelings, within 5 minutes, like clockwork, something would happen. Someone would knock on the door. I would get a text message. A song would randomly play on the radio that had words that were in it just for me. A quote would come into my mind, a scripture would come into my mind, and it was exactly what I needed in that moment. So I call it, for me, pocket healing. It's what I needed just in that pocket of time to get me through. And sometimes it only get me through for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then I'd be back in the dark again, and I'd need it. And like clockwork, it would come. And it wasn't until I started writing it down that I realized, oh my gosh, there is a God that's aware of me. There's no way on this planet that all of this stuff is happening without some divine orchestration. And so for those that maybe don't have faith in a God, or have, they're beginning faith in God, instead of looking for how he's making your life better, look for how he's telling you that he's aware
and that he's there
of you, that he's there.
As you're saying these things, I can only think maybe they can draw on your strength and the strength of others in the time when they don't have their own.
Yeah.
So
That'd be fine.
I appreciate those words.
Well, I'm so grateful that your aunt thought so highly of Becky
I know
that she would suggest that we reach out to her and share her story. And I do feel like we have been hallowed, and what has been shared has been holy, and we are indeed grateful for your time. And
you.
opening the wound just slightly enough to share it again, right? And I know that's
Yeah.
painful,
It
but
is painful.
we know that there will be
Thank
people
you.
that will find some hope and healing from this.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.